Allô les Befedemek. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental wellness. And on the conversation on mental wellness, I want to talk about patience, how to cultivate patience. And you want to hear from me because I am one of the most impatient people that I know. I am not a patient person by any means. But life has taught me that it's really important to cultivate this virtue that is patience. And oftentimes it is when you try to cut corners, to try to alleviate your impatience, that you find life is unkind and unfair in response. Because life wants you, I think life wants all of us to cultivate this virtue that is patience. And so I am someone who has never been patient, even as a child. I don't think any of the lessons that my parents, my peers, my siblings, any of the opportunities in life for you to really clue in that it's important to cultivate patience, that didn't work as well as I think it might have on other people. And so as an adult, a lot of my growth and development journey has been focused on giving myself the lessons of patience and how to cultivate patience within myself and how to be graceful with myself when I feel impatient and when I feel disappointed with the fact that my impatience isn't also building traction. Because I think sometimes we get this false reinforcement that if we are impatient, that things will happen for us. And I think that as a child, when I was impatient, a lot of the times the way that my impatience materialized gave me the things that I wanted. People just kind of conceded to my demands because I guess of my personality, right? And so for the little things in life, I guess fine, but then it built this expectation that if I am impatient, then things need to happen more quickly. But now if you're in the driver's seat of the things that you want to happen and you're feeling impatient, no one's going to come and make things better or make things the way that you want them to be. You just have to figure out what it is that you need to do to get there in a timeline that actually is correspondent to whatever it is that you're building. And so for me, I think about patience and I think about all of the different ways that I have needed to cultivate patience, even from when starting for my master's degree, right? I think that even studying for the GMAT, cultivating the patience there, even once I graduated, I decided that I was not going to go back to the job market in Canada. I decided that I wanted to live abroad. And I had started a few pen pal relationships, but I moved abroad without any job in mind. I did have a freelance job to just pay the bills while I was there, but it cultivated patience. I had to be patient with the process. I didn't get my first job interview, right? I actually had to do a few job interviews and get it really wrong to understand how to do a job interview well in a different market, a different culture, and a different language. And then I landed a job while I was in France, and the same worked when I now got the job that I first had when I moved to Portugal. And all of it really, when you're making moves, when you're looking to grow and where you're pushing the needle, you need to have patience. And I am someone who loves to move, who loves to evolve, who loves to push the needle in progress. I love challenge. And I think one of the most challenging lessons that I have learned as I push towards challenge is this lesson of patience. And so I think about the experiences that I've had in my adult life, because again, in my childhood life, I don't think it really necessarily took root. And I think about all of the lessons that I learned in just waiting, right? And I understood there were moments where I had opportunities come into my lap and I knew that I had to decline those opportunities. I knew that I had to wait instead. There's just something in my spirit and my intuition telling me this isn't the opportunity you want, wait it out. And waiting it out wasn't luxurious, it wasn't fun, it was painful, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And I think that it was in the cultivating of patience, even prior to those experiences taking place, having worked and waited for the results that I wanted, that gave me, I think, the level of maturity to recognize when an opportunity wasn't for me and I should wait for the opportunities that are. And I think that that comes with growth and with maturity and with experience, because if I was younger and I had some of these opportunities fall into my lap, despite some of the alarm bells that come with them, I might have ignored those alarm bells and learned things the hard way. But I think when you learn things the hard way enough times, then you learn to say thank you, but no thank you to the lessons that you recognize in your face that are packaged as opportunities. And so that is one of the first things that I will say around patience. While I consider myself an impatient person, I have cultivated enough patience that I've recognized I am not going to say yes to the first opportunity that comes in my direction if it's not the right opportunity for me. And I think that we all know what opportunities are for us and what opportunities feel like they're not for us, like what opportunities feel like a trap, or what opportunities feel like it's not the right opportunity for you for where you are in your life, you know? And so I think a little bit about that, about the opportunities that I've taken that have been 100% I've been aligned to, only recognizing that those were my opportunities to take because of the experiences that I've had in the past, right? There are certain things that you shouldn't have to compromise for the opportunity. There are certain concessions that you should need to make for the opportunities to take place. And so I recognize that the opportunities that I have now, they're really based on alignment because of the choices that I made and because of the decisions that I took in aligning to these choices, right? I didn't have to compromise. I didn't have to betray myself to make these opportunities. It worked out, right? But I have had opportunities that really felt like the best thing for me to do, but I knew that they weren't. And instead, like I chose like the hard path, right? And I am not someone who shies away from difficulty. If I feel like the hard path is the path that I'm aligned to, even if it's like less luxurious, if it's more struggle, if it's more of a challenge, just getting by, like I'm happy to do that if I feel alignment in that. And I think that there's a certain amount of peace that comes with being patient in difficulty when you feel that alignment is present. I think it's really, really important. And so other things now that I do that help me practice patience for the things that I'm waiting on is nurturing. I think there's something about nurturing life. It creates a patience in you because when you have that connection with something where you're nurturing it and you're seeing it grow and shift and evolve with your care, it makes you patient with the process. And so I have said in many of my videos, like one of my biggest passions are my plants. And I don't like to show them in the videos because I guess it's a bit superstitious because I had showed my zebra plant in a video a couple of times and then she started withering away. And I was just wondering, I'm like, you know, maybe it's because like it's just too many eyes on her, like people watching the video and seeing my zebra plant. And I'm big on energy and energy transfer. And I feel like my plants are just such a big extension of who I am that I'm like, okay, well, just in case I'm right, I don't know if I'm right or not, but just in case I'm right, like I want to protect like my plants and their energy. I don't need them to be like subject to like however many people are watching this video, you know? Like she's doing better now. She's rehabilitated. So I'm going to keep her outside of the lens. And I think that's why I'm like a little bit like not comfortable with having my plants in the frame necessarily. I think maybe what I need to do is get like a fake plant so that the image is a little bit more interesting for everybody. But yes, like I am someone who's really big in nurturing life and I love my plants. I love bringing life into my plants. And like when you think about just the process of getting to know your plants, like the signs and signals that they give you about like if they will have enough water, if they need fertilizer, if they need more sun, if they want less sun, like all of these things are practicing patience, right? Because if you really want your plant to flourish, you need to like understand how your plant works and you need to be, I think, attuned to their signals. And each of my plants are very, very different. They have very, very different needs. And I think catering to each of their needs, learning to accommodate and to adapt to their needs as well, because sometimes their needs shift and change with the seasons, right? It helps me practice patience because I think when you love something enough, then you put the energy and the work into it, right? And I think about Project Purpose and there's like been a huge practice in patience, but also growth, right? Because I am impatient, like I'm not going to sit here and stagnate. Like I'm going to think, well, hey, if this isn't working, like what else can I do? What else should I try to put forward? And it means that I've started a lot of different trajectories that are not necessarily fully baked, but they are trajectories that are viable. They have earning potential, you know? And I think that there's just so much value in leaning into the process and cultivating that patience in that way, right? When you're nurturing life into something. And I think about Project Purpose, there's so much life in her and she has so much more potential for more life. I think about like my plants and their journey and some of the rough patches that we've had as I figured out like what they need from me. And I just think about like it's this life. Like life requires ebb and flow. It requires this patience. It requires this exchange of energy. It requires growth and learning and awareness and maturity as you recognize, well, hey, like this was probably not the best turn. And in recognizing that, you cultivate wisdom, right? And then with that wisdom, you make better moves moving forward. You don't have to learn everything the hard way necessarily. But all of that comes with this practice that is patience. And so I think that patience is really, really important. I think for those of you who are born with a lot of patience, like good on you. I am not that person, but I have learned patience in life and through experience. And I think about my partner, who's probably one of the most patient people I've ever met and like a huge role model for me in that sense, because I don't even understand like where he pulls at the depths of himself to find that patience, but I obviously need to borrow some of that from him as well. And I recognize that like it's not enough to want something. Like if something requires like build and investment and time and energy, you can't know like when you're going to get the results you're looking for, right? Like you just have to trust that your energy, your time, your investment is being put in the right place. And in that trust, you wait for things to materialize in the time that it's going to take to materialize. And that even works in relationships, right? Like relationships need patience as you grow and evolve as individuals, as a couple, as a unit. Like I have recognized that every important thing in my life has required me to cultivate this virtue of patience. And I'm just very grateful for the experiences that I've had that have helped me build this muscle that is patience. And I'm happy that I've not been able to have that instant gratification carry from childhood into my adult life, even though it came with like a lot of hard lessons. And I think that embrace the hard lessons that give you a sense of patience, that make you work, that make you wait, that make you try and fail and try again, because I think those are the lessons that are really cultivating character. And I don't know if a lot of us have depth of character if we haven't experienced struggle. And I believe that the two go hand in hand together. And I think that patience is one of the virtues that comes out of struggle. So this was a long-winded way of saying that. And I think that there's so many virtues that we lose out on when we take the easy road. And I'm here to really speak to the benefits of taking the harder path if that path is in alignment to you. I don't necessarily believe that you take the hard path just for the sake of it. I mean, I am someone who likes a good challenge, and I think there's a certain degree of that is healthy. But I'm not going to go out of my way to like make my life difficult for no reason. And I think that, I mean, that was something that I heard a lot growing up. Like, you know, you take the hard path for no reason, but like I took the hard path when I felt like it was in alignment to what I needed for my own growth. And even in cultivating my sense of self-efficacy, I'm big on self-efficacy. I recognize it is a huge development pillar, but I recognize the gap that I had, like my lack of confidence because of how supported and aided I had been in different realms of my life where I wanted to see if I could do it by myself. And anytime I tried to do it by myself, like I really wasn't given that opportunity until I took the opportunity. And then the entire time I was figuring out how to do it by myself, I kept hearing like these words like, you know, you're choosing the hard way. You don't have to do things the hard way. But sometimes you do. If you want to cultivate that confidence in your ability to do things and to make things happen for yourself, sometimes you just have to take off the training wheels and not let yourself be helicoptered and figure it out on your own and recognize that you can. And I think that so many lessons in my life are just that, like teaching me like you can figure this out on your own. You need to give yourself the space to breathe. And if you feel overwhelmed, just take a couple deep breaths and keep pushing forward. And so I wanted to talk about that because I think patience is such an important virtue for all of us to cultivate. It has been so important in cultivating in my life, and I'm nowhere near like mastered it. I still have a lot of like difficulties when I'm waiting for things that I want to have happen, but I know that there is so much happening in the waiting, so much happening when I'm cultivating patience, and so much happening when I'm taking the time to feel more prepared and like doing things that give me the sense of, well, if I'm waiting, well, what can I do to be prepared in this waiting to help me be equipped for when this actually realizes the way that I want it to. And so I wanted to come on here and talk about that, talk about patience, talk about cultivating that virtue to give yourself the bandwidth for what it is that you want to invite into your life. Because sometimes we want to invite these things into our lives, not recognizing that to invite those things, if we want to attract those things, we need to become a little bit different from who we are. And just in the process of pushing towards the things that we want, do we start to enable ourselves to be on that growth trajectory to be able to carry those things. And I think that I've done a really good job of maintaining the path despite the difficulties, despite the fact that sometimes like it's like climbing a mountain. I've had to develop discipline to then lose it, to then develop it again, like cultivating consistency to lose it, to then cultivate consistency again. It's been a lot of trial by fire, a lot of failures in the process, and a lot of growth and learning and wisdom, I think, that has been part of that journey, right? And I think that that's a journey that I would gladly take any day of my life. I wouldn't change anything, no regrets whatsoever. But it also gives me the opportunity to talk from more of a personal level, because before I created these programs just with the conceptual elements of it in mind, like I took cognitive neuroscience, so I had this conceptual framing of developmental psychology, of social psychology, of what it takes to feel fulfillment and having a sense of meaning. Like I was really looking at it from an academic perspective and like really building these programs from a lens of academia. But I think that in the journey, I can now bring my life experience into it. It's not just me talking because I'm inspired because of the things that I've read and the anecdotes that I've been exposed to. to, I can talk about it from personal experience as well. And so if you want to talk about your journey from personal experience, if you want to embrace change, learn how to cultivate clarity, focus, build a value system around development and growth, then I do suggest that you take a look at our adult programs. We do offer adult programs on our website, online courses, as well as an online community. And we also provide these types of leadership programs for children, because I don't think you can start too young. And so auto leadership programs for children are really focused on cultivating that grit and perseverance in children, building that character development with a foundation of 4 core pillars. And those pillars are cultivating a sense of autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept. So something for everyone in your family, something definitely for you. And if you're still here, I do invite you to leave a like, share this video, follow us on all of our social media platforms, check out our website, and make sure you subscribe to our newsletter there. We do send that out twice a month at minimum. And thank you again so much. I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.